What?
Yes, we are rolling.
Oh, cool. Welcome back to the Chris Massey Show. Today's guest is one of my favorite people. It's been a long time. Well, it doesn't seem like a long time because we communicate on the regular, but one of my favorite people, very inspirational, a significant component of my career and my evolution as a person. Welcome to the show, multi-talented media personality, motivational speaker, with so many titles that you have. Producer. Welcome to the show again, but in the new format, Dawn Day.
Hello.
Hey, what's up? we got it done.
Chris, I'm in your dream right now.
Yeah, and you helped me get here.
Chris, you were doing this before me. You were doing this before me. Oh my gosh. This is when I stepped in the door, I felt the energy. I had to use the restroom. That's how much energy I felt. We got Jimmy over here. We got Legendary behind your back.
Yeah, I mean,
man.
When I say I've been trying to get this done, you're constantly on the move in a great way. First of all, congratulations with all of your accomplishments and everything that's coming together for you.
Thank you.
You one of my guests that I've been seeking because you've played a significant role in my spiritual evolution. And that's what that's for. You already know what that is.
Yes.
And this book changed my life in 2008. And ironically, see, like, this is how you operate, because 2008, you blessed me with this book, and I hadn't even started, the podcast started in December 2008. I had this in the spring of 2008, not knowing what I was about to do, my next move. So, and you know what this book by Florence Shen means to me. So, and to that quick point, you taught me another lesson. In addition to the insight that come with this wisdom, is that you never know who's paying attention to what you're saying.
Amen.
Because you was like, yeah, I know what you like. You like to read spiritual books and business books. I got something you'll like. I'm like, oh, she was paying attention to that? Mm-hmm. And had you not been paying attention, who knows if I would ever, cross paths with this timeless wisdom. So thank you.
Come through, Alignment. You're welcome. Thank you for allowing me to orbit. All the times that you would call me just to check in, and we'll just have our conversation. And it's amazing when you just put one foot in front of the other and just allow things to attract. Wow.
Yeah, it's a simple but highly effective principles,
Right.
So yeah, I know. So now you're Cali-based, right?
I'm LA all day. I can't wait to get back to LA. Detroit, what up, though? I love you, but it's time to go.
Oh, yeah, that weather ain't no joke.
It's no joke. And it was good for a moment. I mean, Detroit did me good.
Right.
Then this last week, right when we were getting into the new year, it was like, oh, let me slap your face with this cold.
Yeah.
So this 17 degrees, 24 degrees, y'all can keep that. LA is looking like sunshine.
Exactly. Right.
And warm weather. No, but I'm so glad to be here. And, it's so interesting. I've been telling people over the years about Florence. I used to say Scoville, but I was talking to, her name is Patty. I call her Auntie Patty. She's on WDAS in Philly.
All right, dope.
And I was talking about the book, and she said Scoville. So Florence Scovel Shen, The Game of Life. And I came upon this book because when I was in college, my teacher, we had a practicum course, and I was a TV production major. So I'm thinking I'm about to get books based on television production, producing, and things to forward the career. And she gave this book, and I was like, what is this? Mm-hmm. But as the same thing that you said, like, that book changed my life, my viewpoint. And it's like, life is a game. Are you willing to play it?
Right.
And so, that's what they say, like, the best gifts are the ones that keep on giving. And hot dang, it's yours.
Yeah, you ain't know what and that's the thing, on this journey, some of the best advice that I've heard is the best thing that you can do for another individual is put them in a position to succeed.
Amen.
Now, what they do with it, and some people don't get it right the first time or get it, but still, you've done your part, regardless of what the outcome is at any given point. And I'm a very grateful person. I try to give credit where it's due to anybody that's been a contribution on my journey. And, gratitude is important, expressing it. I think it'll help it'll help society flow in a more different way if we express a genuine gratitude. Not
you
to
know,
get
Harvey
something.
said, when I was over working at the Steve Harvey Morning Show, and it was a blessing to be at that level when you talk about urban AC. You're at the creme de la creme, the A-list. You see the business, you see how it goes, but along with that gift of just being in the radio realm is being around the conversations of people that make moves.
Right.
And one of the things that I grasped from him is that he said that when you're on your route to being successful, when you're doing the award shows, when you're hosting events, the best thing is to be grateful. Because when you're grateful, you get more things to be grateful for.
Nice.
And if you notice anyone, whenever you're accepting an award, whether you're about to deliver a speech, the first thing you operate is in gratitude.
Exactly.
What?
Right.
So I'm here on that.
Yeah,
I appreciate that.
Yeah, I appreciate you. And so, yeah, you mentioned that's part of your career. How did that opportunity come about?
Harvey.
Yeah. And what was your like? What was it like? And what? Yeah. So what was that experience? How did it come about?
Well, I was the digital content producer for the Steve Harvey Morning Show, mainly like the director because I was the head person, my own boss for that position. Mm-hmm. And so I was in charge of handling the social media content on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, also handling the website, any type of interviews, doing red carpet. And I pretty much changed the game. Just looking at the Instagram alone, we started at 34,000. And when I left, my decision, the account was at 954,000.
Right.
So basically $1 million. They're there now. But how the opportunity came about, it's interesting how things come back in full circle. Because I lived in New York before I came out to LA. Mm-hmm. And I worked at a station, WBLS, legendary station, first black station owned by Percy Sutton, who was the first African American. Oh, man, I just messed that up. Not Percy Sutton, but Hal Jackson. Hal Jackson and Percy Sutton. Hal Jackson was the first African-American broadcaster. Actually broadcasted his first broadcast at Howard University out of a mobile home. But I say all that to say, out there and how things came in full circle, I was a local producer for the Yolanda Adams Morning Show in New York. And so WBLS was the FM side. And so usually at a station, you might have a gospel side, you might have a hip-hop side. It's always like a cluster, so to speak. Mm-hmm. And I would always see Harvey and them walking around. And my mentor, Skip Dillard, was the one that gave me the opportunity to get into radio. If I were to thank anybody for my opportunity of just stepping in the door, that God don't go Skip Dillard. I interned for him in Detroit at Hot 102.7.
Nice.
I was only there for a couple of months. When I went back to to college for my sophomore year, I believe, and I was going back to school, I found out he was over at WPGC. I would drive for 30, 40 minutes just to sit with this man for 15 minutes. Didn't know that I was planting seeds. But what you said, like that one thing, you put one foot in front of the other. Yeah. It's going to pan out. You just got to keep going, and the only way to finish is to start. Exactly. So we would just sit down. I didn't know what I was asking. I just knew that there was somebody in radio that wanted to talk to me and gave me a minute. And he gave me the history about Mason in the morning. He was talking about radio in Detroit, like everything that you can imagine.
Right.
So in that moment of meeting when he was at PGC, he was the program director out there, he moved out to New York. Well, I always said when I left Howard, I said, either I'm doing New York or LA. I never want to always have everything planned out, but I always kept it moving so my steps were already ordered, and then I just walk it out.
Right.
So when I got out there on a fellowship at Ketchum Public Relations. And it's interesting that when you trust it, things always going to work out how it's supposed to work out, right?
Of course, yeah.
I finished my fellowship there. It was only for a couple of months. So I banked everything. Some people like, well, I got to have a full-time job. I got to have this benefits or whatever before I go out there and do my thing. But my thing was I had an opportunity.
Exactly.
And the door was open. So Dawn was about to walk through the door. Got open there, finished the fellowship 3 months. Skip is like, hey, Dawn, I'm out here. He was like, why don't you come over to the station, come to visit? So then I came to visit, and that's when I started board operating. So I started on the Quiet Storm. I was with Vaughn Harper, legendary, rest his soul, rest in peace. And then that's when I went over to the Yolanda Adams Morning Show. And on the FM side, you had like your Wendy Williams and that whole cluster when she was still in radio. So I would see Harvey because I was working the morning for the morning gospel show.
Right.
Got an article in the New York Times, a voice for radio with ambition like Oprah. Thanks to Skip Dillard. So after that, I left. I was also working at Music Choice when I was out in New York. And my mother died. It was a lot of things that was transitioning. And I had gotten released due to some foolishness that I had did at the radio station, which is every right. But I was young. I was like 25, 26.
Right. It happens.
My mother was dying. I didn't have everything, I didn't even know what I was dealing with. But it's interesting how God puts you in situations, because that gospel music, I think, really saved me. But I was over at Music Choice, and I was pretty much over that job, and I wanted to leave, but I didn't realize that in order to get unemployment, you had to get fired from your job. I was pretty much the best in that position. I stayed there the longest out of anybody, but whatever friction, God saw that I left, it was time for me to go. So they ended up firing me. I got my unemployment. Well, my sister was celebrating her 30th birthday in Vegas. And so I was like, okay, let me go out there. And I had a layover in LA before I could come back to New York. And my friend was like, all right, Dawn, why don't you just stay here for a night? I'll pay for your ticket to come back. So I was like, okay, let's do that. So we're on the rooftop somewhere. They're like, hey, Dawn, I feel like you can do really good in LA. Well, I'm free like a bird. I'm a fly. Okay?
Right.
That's all you had to say to me. So I'm like, okay, again, a door was open and Dawn was willing to walk through for the opportunity. So I moved out to LA. I had my unemployment coming in. Didn't know that unemployment only lasts a year or so many times the payment. But I was out here and I was like, okay, I'm focusing on getting my website together. I had just did my photo shoot, motivational speaking, my voiceovers, all that jazz. Well, once that unemployment, stopped, I got myself in a crunch. But thank God to a good friend that I went to Renaissance. Not even just Renaissance. We were in this program called Scoop. It was sponsored by the Public Benefit Corporation, which before I got into radio, it was because of Scoop. I wouldn't be where I am without Scoop. And it was Scoop that taught us how to produce public service announcements. So I was writing scripts. We were taking cameras. We were creating artistry boards where you're actually putting frame by frame. And it was then that I found out I had a voice. Because somebody wanted me to voice their project. And I was like, wait a minute, what? And then next thing I know, everybody was like, well, Dawn, can you voice mine? So that was kind of like I knew I had a voice, which spearheaded radio. So fast forward, I'm in LA. The same friend that I told you that I met in that Scoop program, he was like, okay, Dawn, well, I can get you a day gig I was working the red carpet for Nickelodeon. I was a production assistant. So I had the referee outfit on. I'm like, okay, unemployment is out, but we got this money to come across. And the next thing I know, I went over to A. Smith. And so A. Smith was a company, they do a lot of things. I don't know if you ever heard of the show Unsung.
Oh, yeah, right.
So it's produced by A. Smith Productions Company. And so I was working on episodes there, and so I ended up interviewing, and I got hired.
Nice.
But again, so that was my net. But what's interesting, when you got a purpose, when you talk, and it's right in your logo, your saying, your slogan. Believers become innovators, and innovators become legendary, because when you believe something in your heart, what you're supposed to do, you can jump to other positions, but you're never going to get really settled in there. And so even at this job, as a production assistant, I'm grateful. I had a chance to work on some phenomenal episodes, learned a lot about history, all that kind of jazz. It wasn't it. And having my mother dying, I really had a different viewpoint about life, about purpose, but more importantly, about time. I don't have time to waste. And if it's not getting me happy, I gotta go. And I got to figure out, well, Dawn learned something from the last job at Music Choice, that you had to get fired in order to get unemployment. Well, I came out here. I ended up at the job within the first couple of months. I had also auditioned. I ended up getting an agent. The agent was like 15 minutes away. So when I first started out, I would go on my lunch break and do my auditions. So I was grateful for that. So in the opportunity with my job at A. Smith, I was very transparent. I said, can you fire me? I did. I walked in there. In there. They say, asking you shall receive, seeking you shall find, knock, and the door will be open to you.
That expectancy.
Hello.
Hello. I think that's interesting. Like you mentioned purpose. We've had some great, like I said, I don't take lightly or for granted. Because our schedules now, we don't get a chance to really talk like we did in the early.
I'm gonna do better.
No, it's not you. Like, what I'm saying, it's we're good busy. You know, it's not like I'm too
Right.
busy. And we make time. Like I said,
Absolutely.
it's an honor for you to be here. Like, it's a pleasure for me to have you here. As you know, like you said, as time goes on, things start to make sense. It doesn't always make sense at any given point. You know, it's just about that persistence and consistency. My point in saying that is just, as of this past August, I've been walking in my purpose on purpose since
Hey.
for 16 years. And, you know, I didn't think it was like a big deal. You know what I'm saying? It's not like you downplay it all the way, but you're just like, I'm just along for the ride. And then how everything falls into place, it turns into something. Now I really have a sense of gratitude and insight that I never, like, you can't make this stuff up. You know what it's like. You start and then become intuitively guided and enjoy the ride.
But you gotta be crazy to go after your dreams. No,
that's
you
what they
gotta
label
be.
you. That's what they label you. I don't consider it crazy. All the greats, because, you know, to go back to what you mentioned about our motto, I often mention this with people that no matter how subtle or extravagant, anything you see with your two eyes once began as an idea in someone's mind. Literally, if you could see it, if you have your eyesight. So innovators rule the world. And innovators are often called crazy. Why? Because we're not so-called normal. But what if we were taught at a certain age to walk in your purpose? Like, this is in the curriculum. Like, it's something that you can do that nobody else can do. It doesn't, no matter how subtle or extravagant, you don't have to, you know, be the superstar. You don't have to do this, but your contribution is significant. What if you were taught that early on in childhood or early on, instead of trying to be like, yo, when you grow up, you should do this, or I did this, you should do this. People don't often ask, why are you doing what you're doing? They just tell you doing it right or wrong. And pretty much usually no explanation with that. And, you know, so it's just like, I found out on this journey, one of the most important questions is actually simple, but very impactful, is why. You keep asking why, and you're going to have some interesting answers. You know, so, and that's what comes with the insight on this journey, you know. If you would have told me when I started at 19, it would take approximately 16 years for it to start to come together, you know I wouldn't have did it, because, you know, it's certain levels of patience and certain things.
You got patience. Yo, you can even hear it in his voice. You hear the patience in his voice, his tone. I'm listening.
I know. You know, we kicking it. You know, I'm in a great place now. Like you said, you know what it's like when it starts to come together. Because it's not all like what certain people are starting to see is more of the finished product. You know, with the middle part.
What? That's the story. It's just like,
that's the best part. Not the best. Everything matters. Everything
it's the
matters.
meat. You know, my barber,
matters.
Louis T. Powell, he says the journey is the experience, and the experience is the journey. Half the time we keep looking at the finish point, but you forgot it's how I got there that matters. I wouldn't have been there had it been not this.
Everything matters.
It's like eating a sandwich with just bread. Now, if you done been somewhere, you might have had you a good mayo sandwich, a Miracle Whip on there, but the fixings are in the middle. Even our body. What makes us who we are is what's in the inside.
Yep. And that's, to your point, someone, I heard it before, like I said, everything matters. They was like, the beginning is often exciting, and the ending or the fulfillment, whatever you was seeking out, is very fulfilling. But the middle part can get messy, you know. But it's important to enjoy it all, because, you know, people are like, oh, that don't matter. Or it wasn't that important. Oh, I didn't really want it. Yes, you did.
Yes, you did. You perked out. But see, that's what I mean when I say, and I hear what you're saying. What if we did start in life and it was a notion of, you know, I guess, what do you want? Or just making room.
Or
and
who are you? What are you here for?
What are you here for? But that's a loaded question, because I think in life we're figuring it out as we go. And I think we have to give ourselves grace to allow ourselves to change. And so that's why I said for 2022, for Dawn and beyond, along with claiming abundance, I'm making room for Dawn. And so I was just talking to my godmother earlier this morning today. And I told her, she said, well, how's everything going professionally? And, you know, I just fill up in so many tears because, you know, I hear what you're saying about not necessarily being crazy, but for myself, I feel like I got to be crazy.
Hey.
Because even, you know, And just to close that up, I got my opportunity to work with the Steve Harvey Morning Show because of Skip Dillon. Mm-hmm. But I'm saying to be crazy enough that I got to leave, because sometimes I'm like, God, why did you put this vision on my heart this big? And not why because I don't want it. It's just that anything is not going to settle. And when we talk about life, and just like I'm telling you, like a door is open as an opportunity for me to come through, I don't have it figured out. When you say, hey, Dawn, had I known that it was going to take 16 years, you wouldn't have done it. But it was something inside, just like how we talk about the fixings, what's in the middle that made you keep going. But what does that say when you when you aren't at the time that you want to live your life out like you want, when you try to do a job and it still doesn't fulfill you, when you stay up at night because you know that there's more, when there's a discontent, when you can walk away from, let's just say if you're making 6 figures a job because that's the fulfillment. Mm-hmm. And you got to be crazy because in life, we want to go into comfort. And we're taught that love is comfort, love is home, right? But what if you have to shield and break that apart to get to a different love in yourself so that can be abundance? And we got to realize that when we talked about this dash, when we talk about the middle, that's the road, that's the valley, that's the ups and downs. Can you weather it?
It builds character.
Hey, and that's when I think that makes it more sweeter. Because I talk to some people and I guess it's all right. I guess everybody doesn't have a big dream. And I say that in the sense of, I think there are dreamers, and I think there are people who enable dreams. Mm-hmm. And I think it's totally fine. Just like there are leaders and there are followers. We have to have things that are chain reaction to go. And like when I'm saying, like, God, you put this on me, it's not like I woke up and I said, yo, I'm about to be this mega mogul that's going to be bigger than Oprah. I've been doing this since I've been 2.5, 3. Mm-hmm. And I can't just imagine a life of just functioning. And just like I said, coming into 2022, of making room for Dawn, it's like, I got to show up. Mm-hmm. So God can show out. And I think half the time when people are not feeling a fulfilled life is that you haven't decided to show up. You haven't decided to show up because just like you said, you were listening to what somebody else told you to do. Mm-hmm. You said, I'm not going to step outside the box. But if you gave yourself permission, if you gave yourself space, if you gave yourself grace, you can walk into that gratitude too and live your life abundantly, exceedingly and beyond. Because Chris, we gonna die. You know that? It's going to be over.
To that point, you know what I've learned on this journey? What's helped me, because I'm already a passionate individual. I mean, you can't tell from my demeanor, but I'm very...
Hey, listen, the fact that we sitting up here in this studio, it got Chris Massey's show right here, on there on my back, legendary in front of me. Oh.
See, so to your point, I really learned that the irony is that you really learn to live and appreciate life when you learn to accept mortality. Because what they say, why worry about things? Because you're not going to make it out alive anyway. So it's like, that's not even a dark...
amen. Ooh.
That's not even a dark thing.
Chris, what you doing to me? I feel it in my leg. You ain't making it out alive.
You know, and it's like, settle in, enjoy the journey. We don't know what was before and after. But you can do something about now at any given point. And
everybody doesn't have the courage. And that's what I mean by crazy. You got to be crazy to go against the norm. Because it's different. It's everything that you said. And it's like, my God, if we did step into the realm of our unique capabilities, what?
Yeah, and I get it. Everybody's different, though. And
that's true.
I was like, it's not for me to, say what you're doing right or wrong or whatever. That's subjective. Like, is it right for you or wrong for you, And I think if we celebrate and encourage individuality more, more people would be able to live more fulfilling lives. Because the irony is, like, I've had this discussion because I could really get into depth with people, because that's the only, like you said, sometimes you have to get in there to get that real answer, whether you want to acknowledge it or not, or whether you want to hear it or not. But I'm just like, if you don't take control of your life, somebody or something runs it. It's no one way. It's no in between. Either you controlling it or something.
It's controlling you.
Or something else. And but it's also perspectives on that too. Because how I got into my purpose, briefly.
How did you get in your purpose?
And all them times we talked, I forgot, probably didn't share this story, but that's crazy. But yeah, the short, straight to the point version though was when I was on the back end of Katrina, how I ended up at Howard, on the Katrina grant that one year. Katrina was sophomore year of college. I was at I was in 5 cities in 2 weeks. And when I was in somewhere right outside Jackson, Mississippi, and that's where I found my purpose. It's a piece of paper that I used to keep with me, but now it's framed. But that piece of paper, we talked about simplicity earlier, you know. I wrote one sentence. That's when I signed the contract with God. It was like, I, Christopher Larry Massey, fully commit to fulfilling my purpose in its entirety. Date and time, 3:29 p.m., August 29th. That's the date of Katrina. I was in Mississippi. And I was 19, which is a kid. And I didn't think much of it. Just kept a piece of paper. And as I evolved over time, I'm like, it makes sense now to ask for guidance. And who better to ask for guidance for than the Most High, all-knowing, the infinite divine being, you know? So I'm like, I didn't send myself here. So clearly, you sent me here for a reason. So whatever you got in store for me, I trust you to do that. And fast forward.
That faith is real. Mm-hmm.
I mean, because I look at it as logic, but that's also, like you said, not like some people may consider it crazy, but I say it's simple because when children have, because you are still a child at 19 mentally, you know, and children have that. Children are like the purest form of beings until they get exposed to certain elements in the world.
Yeah.
So it's like you're a sponge, but so I was fortunate enough to be there, and I still had some level of innocence that it made sense. You know, that was a no-brainer for me. I don't know what the details are, but I trust in you because why not trust the professionals, you know?
Right, but you know, it's something that you can't see. And I think, well, two things. I want to share this because I thought this was a dope insight. My friend and I, we were talking about that. You know, just having the mind of a child and children and all that jazz. Mm-hmm. And it's amazing how amazing God is when, like, you look at, like, the Alpha and the Omega. Because just like you said, you have that purity, that openness of a child. And it's like, yo, we started with the end. Because we trying to get back there, right? We trying to get back to free. We trying to get back to playing. But when we were born, we were created that way. So I just thought that was dope for an Alpha and Omega.
It's like you into the industry. It's like a movie. Began with the end in mind. You know what I'm saying? Like,
hey, what's the
when
vision?
I started learning about financial literacy and generational wealth, it was like, what do you want out of life?
What do you want?
Wish without worrying. There's no right or wrong.
Catch it.
And then after you put all of that out there, now go back to the beginning. How you gonna get there? It's like, okay. You said everything you wanted. That's how I learned about residual income. I'm like, I really like to chill. So somebody got to work for this money, and it ain't going to be me.
It won't be me.
Money can work for itself, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, and that's the thing, too, about doing what you love. I get what they say. When you do what you love.
You never have to work a day in your life.
But so many people on the outside misconstrue that statement. They think that we don't work. It's just that it's self-fulfilling because we actually put in more physical labor, but it doesn't seem like work to you. When you say, I have to do this, I have to do that, that sounds forced. Yeah, I get to do this. And I was going to be doing it regardless, you know? So why not get compensated for it? And you also get compensated even better because when you care about what you do, you pay attention to detail. Because it's not really about the compensation. That's not the driving motivation. But because of the irony, because you're putting in that effort and going to detail and all of this, you know, fine tuning, you're going to get compensated because that's a natural law. You get out what you put in. So, yeah.
And I always say, how you do anything is how you do everything. And operating with integrity. And that's just another way I feel is that's gotten me to the point of working with the Steve Harvey Morning Show when I did. And then having the opportunity of I can leave a job. And now I go up to the same studio for the Vitamin D with Dawn Day podcast. What?
And where can people check that out?
You can check it out wherever you hear your favorite podcast, whether that's on iHeartRadio, you can check it on Spotify, I'm on Audible, I'm on Apple Podcasts, wherever. And
to go into that, real quick, what inspired that?
Vitamin D. For a while, Dawn Day is part of my middle name. It took a while to embrace that. But music has always been a way of speaking to me. And it's been in my blood. Like, my dad had his own record company. I've never shared that on a platform.
Right.
Ooh, exclusive.
Yeah,
Detroit, Michigan Records. So not even realizing, like, this was already spoke upon me. Like, my dad was like, oh, I'm going to be a star, all that. But it came about because music has always been a way to carry itself with me. And I really was able to identify that in high school. Right after we met in Renaissance, but then when I went to Mercy. And it started out, Vitamin D, it started out as a newsletter when I was at Music Choice in New York. And one day I was just up and I was crying, and I could see these people, and they were holding up dollar bills, and they were screaming. And it was like they were depositing into their life. Like, one of the logos for Vitamin D is that you are your greatest asset. Like, I don't care what kind of account or what you put in, you are your most valuable asset in life. Without you, if you don't love in yourself, there's nothing.
Right.
So I challenged these girls at my job. I said, each day we had to write something that we did for ourselves. And I matched it. I had cut out these fake dollar bills, and I had them right on the back. Because again, I'm fulfilling this vision that I saw, and they got me all emotional and stuff. And at the end of the month, I matched it with actual cash, just so that we can see those efforts. But then one of my things that I came away with challenging myself with is that I wanted to put out a newsletter. Now, first, the newsletter started with the 3 girls. It was 3, including myself. And I would just send them. I would use the lyrics of popular music and intertwine into a motivational message. And the whole point of that is that I wanted to be a way to inspire people, but not coming like in a pastor way, not coming as like, you know, like a CEO of a company where it's too distant. Because I feel like oftentimes when you look at people in those types of positions, I'm coming at you talking it this way. But I wanted to level with people. I wanted to go where the music was that I felt like has ministered to me in many ways. And I mean, it could be explicit, it could be country, it could be rock, it could be whatever. And I wanted to be in a sense that it can come back to me. And that I could reach them. So at first I started out with a weekly newsletter, and I would use the lyrics of popular music. Then I went ahead and I was doing it on SoundCloud. And I think at this point, this is about 2010. Yeah, you were already starting, right?
Yeah, I'm in 08.
Yeah. That's what, Chris, you've been. Okay, so I was uploading my podcast, Vitamin D, on SoundCloud. And so from then, I had stopped for a second, but then I got back with it. And so lo and behold, now it's on iHeartRadio and all the platforms. And now I've expanded it where I'm not only doing lyrics of popular music, but I also do interviews with people. Because it's also about inspirational insights. I want to go wherever you are and shed light on the conversation.
Right.
And I always tell people on my podcast, like, it's all about inspiring, but understand when you talk about shedding the light, you're shedding the light on the good and the bad. So it ain't all just about feeling good, because if you want to be better and you want to do better, you have to be able to see better. So whatever that stuff you're trying to hide from, or you think no one else can see, you see that.
Exactly.
And it's not, I want to see you. It's like a diamond, right? One of the most profound quotes that I say I live with to this day: what allows a diamond to shine are the multitudes of cuts that have been placed within it. Let's just think about it. Is it depression? Did you lose your house? Was it a breakup? Did you break something? Whatever the case may be, all of these cuts that happen in our life that may cause somebody to be shamed, right? But you realize when people operate in that moment of vulnerability, you allow people to see you. And just as a diamond, it's allowed to be seen. So all these little cuts, now I done stepped in the light, now you're shining for the whole world to see. And then get this, if we can all be so bold, if we can all be so courageous, if we can all make room for ourselves to exist, can you imagine the light that we can shine? Stop playing with me.
Exactly.
So that's what Vitamin D is about. Vitamin D is about igniting the light within inside of you. I want to see you.
Exactly.
And that means I got to see me.
That's super dope. And on that note, yeah, make sure y'all check out the Dawn Day podcast.
Vitamin D with Dawn Day.
Exactly. And I appreciate you for taking your time. You know, this is just the beginning. You know, we finally got it done.
Yeah, I changed my flight. I said, I'm coming. I'm coming to the Chris Massey show.
And it's much appreciated.
Yeah, man.
And what's the best way people can follow you?
You can follow me on all social media at Dawn Day Speaks. That's DAI Speaks. And then also check me out. Follow my my podcast on all social media. Vitamin D Dawn Day.
Make sure y'all do that. And we appreciate all of you for tuning in as well. We appreciate all the love and support.
Hey.
You want to stay updated with us, follow us on Twitter and Instagram. That's at Chris Massey Show. And very special thanks to the official sponsor of the show, the inspirational lifestyle brand Legendary. Their motto is believers become innovators, innovators become legendary. Follow them at LGNDRE. Check out the website, lgndre.com. Once again, Dawn, thank you so much. Looking forward to working with you again. And
we got to get you on my podcast.
You know, just say the word, I'm there. Appreciate y'all and looking forward to next time.
Yeah, man.
Peace.